morning, everyone. How are you doing there? Welcome to GrayManPrepping. Tonight is going to be a little exciting for Survival Saturday. Tonight's topic is going to stir up some emotion among some of you and get some of you really wanted to go at it, but as they said in the movie Avatar, calm, people, calm. Because tonight's topic is, will you survive 60 days without power? And there's a lot of ground rules that go with this. So let me come up here. And here I am. All right. Before we get into that, I'm going to go back to the top of the chat and say hi to everybody. First one in was CR, Creative Redundancy. Then Always Survive stopped in. He says, not first, but what's going on with every day? I'm getting ready to pass out. It's got early tomorrow, so he's going to watch the replay. He put out a video about an hour ago where he was out on a range. There's a company out there with full automatic shotguns. And they were loading the shotgun up with 3 to 5 rounds in it. And they were going at it, a couple shots semi-auto. The guy walking over flipped the switch and did a 3-shot burst. The look on some of those people's eyes was amazing. Anyways, check that video out at Always Survive, and I think you'll like it. Prairie Rider came in with a good bit here. I'm going to go ahead and jump on this here as well. It depends where you live, what type of year it is, the time of year it is as well. And she talks about how in 98 she went through a month without hot water, power during an ice storm. Thankfully she had a propane bottle for the barbecue. Okay, so yeah, they were playing bingo to see who would eat at the shelter. All right, next one in was, okay, plug your ears, here it comes. It's CB at Hugo Homestead. Let's see, next one down coming in was Troop 1351 will be lurking and taking notes. And next one in was Nate Mitch, followed up by Doris. And by the way, Doris, I sent you the email link to it if you want to pop up here. Here's a comment on it here from Nate Mitch. 60 days no power, easy day, but lose a deep freezer in the process. But it depends what time of year is it. If it's during the polar vortex, you just got to open up the freezer and let that cold air keep everything cold. Let's see, CR's back. Idaho Garden Girl's in the house. Uncle Al is here. Die Bullfrog 79. Little Alone Prepper, welcome. Kathy D. Salt and Light is here. And I hope I don't miss anybody as I'm going through the list here. Lori J. is here. That's Prairie Rider's other channel. Thank you for watching on both of them. Outlaw Farms. And yeah, he's one of the ones that are already there. Lived 6 years off-grid with just a generator. Could survive that just as long. Okay, let's see here. Everyone's talking, chit-chatting up. Good. Projects with Paul, welcome. Our Cabin in the Woods. And let's see here. And caught up with the chat here. All right, cool. And if anybody's out there just lurking is fine. However, on a live stream, YouTube now screws us over. If you're lurking and you don't give it a thumbs up and say hi or lurking or watching one time, they don't count your time at all. All righty, so with tonight's topic, we got 13 in here watching right now. At least that's what YouTube is saying is watching. I've noticed on other channels there's like 12 people commenting in the chat rapid. And it says there's only 3 people watching when there's 12 people commenting in the chat. So who knows how many are actually here. All right, so let's jump back over to this. There we go. I'm going to lay out some sort of ground rules on this for you guys to think about. And because no scenario is set in stone. You can get all prepared for a scenario. It starts coming at you and it makes a left turn or a right turn. And Kaylin Strain is in here in the house. Cool, Kaylin. I hope she had a great birthday. All right, so let's see here. So what are we talking about as far as 60 days without power? Is it the whole country? What is it? Well, I've talked this over with some friends, and it's, your area. And when you're talking about power grid, your area is about 350 miles, out from where you're at, loses power for 60 days. Hey, Tibor, how's it going? So basically it's a block that has lost power, a big, block, comparatively speaking, or small if you're comparing like what happened in the Northeast a few years back. But, it's without power for 60 days. What happened? That's not part of this scenario. The scenario is yet it's lost power. It could have been it could have been a major electrical strike on some substations, which caused a cascade failure and burnt out transformers, whatever. Whatever the reason is, it's 60 days. Drink water, folks. All right. So that's one thing. The next one here is get rid of that one. Oh. Okay, so the first day it happens, internet phones are working, but intermittently. If you're in a city where they have sewer pumps that basically in low spots, the sewer all flows at low pump spot and it pumps it up to the treatment plant. So the sewer pumps have stopped because there's no power, and generally those do not have a backup power there. And here's yours. So those generally do not have backup power, but they have a big enough tank that they can run. They can go for several days, but the pumps have stopped working, so the tanks are filling up. And the reason why phones and internet are working intermittently is the towers and stuff generally have a battery backup that'll last 24 hours, generally. And it depends on how much use there is. If power goes out, everybody's going to be on the phone, trying to call everybody else, trying to do everything else, and it's going to overload the system, and all circuits are going to be busy. And of course, if you have a refrigerator and freezer, they're going to need some form of power, and we'll talk about that as we get going. Hey, Alicia, how's it going? And who else snuck in here while I was looking over the one thing? Okay, got Tibor, got that. All right. Oh, Tammy Dexter, good evening. Welcome. All righty. So that's the first day, things that pop up to think about. Okay, these are things you got to think about, for a power outage situation. After 3 days, internet and phones, city water stop working. Riots begin. Other generators will run out of fuel. Companies and agencies can't reorder supply. So what's going on here is, the backup batteries on the internet hubs, on the phone cell towers, their batteries have run out. City water, generally they have enough fuel for their generator to keep the treatment plant going for 48 to 72 hours. Then they got to order more diesel fuel. Well, if they can't get through to order the fuel, they're gonna run out. Riots are going to be beginning if they haven't earlier, but by 3 days there will be riots in cities and stuff. People are going to be freaking out. Other generators, I'm talking about generators at hospitals, generators at the police station, generators at City Hall, other companies that have generators, unless they have really big tanks, they usually have enough fuel for 72 hours. That gives them time to order more fuel. They try not to keep their tanks totally full because they don't want fuel going bad. And for some reason, this is a corporate thing. A lot of them do. They keep it about 3/4 full, and that way they can, when it starts going down, they can add more fuel to it. It mixes up with the fuel that's in there, and keeps everything running fine. And of course, nobody can order. The companies can't order, and agencies can't reorder supplies such as fuel and other necessities that they are running out of. And I think, is there another one here? Yeah. After 6 days, riots will be pretty much out of control. Everything is getting worse. There'll be neighborhood shootings are happening. You may not see it, but you'll hear gunshots going off in the neighborhood. And the power outage is now spreading beyond that 350 miles as they've tried to do stuff. There's been back feeds out, screw ups in trying to match the hertz of the power and stuff, and it's starting to spread.
You talk about matching frequencies.
Yes, matching frequencies. And I think that's it. And that's the kind of stuff I've laid out here. Now, what brought this up was came from two different sources. The first source was someone had been commenting, and he started emailing me and stuff about, what's going to happen to a lot of people in 60 days without power, even it's not, all over the country. And we talked a little bit about that. And then David Lynn was talking to some friends of his, and he made a comment in one of his lives that one of his friends who are fairly affluent in their financial standing, and he was talking to them, well, what happens if power goes out for 60 days and everything kind of crashes? And the guy goes, well, I guess I'm not going to survive. And David Lynn said the guy's attitude was he doesn't want to be around if everything goes down the toilet that bad. So, Star Homestead India is here. And B. Hendricks came in. And see anybody else come in here. I think that's it. If I missed somebody, I'm sorry. So,
that one guy, I'm going to say there's a lot of people that are like that, though. If they face any real hardships, they don't want to work through it.
Exactly.
They don't want to see they don't want to see what's going to happen on the other side.
Yeah. They don't want to go through Mad Max to when civilization comes back. Or more appropriately, they don't want to go through The Postman with Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
Because at the end of The Postman, 20 years later or so, or 30 years later, the country was making a comeback and things were getting better again. But in the in between time, it was, holy crap, what the hell's going on around here? And so my thought to everybody out here is, if you have this micro area, 350 miles out that is gone black, can you survive? Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, sure, I can survive for 60 days. But what about everything else that's going on around you? That's what I talked about, riots starting. The sewer systems are failing. The city water is failing. Everybody else is going through holy heck. While you may be sitting pretty, and they're going to be looking for food, water, and other supplies. Are you still going to survive for 60 days? Your thoughts?
No, mate.
Yeah, it's more than that first things, isn't it?
Yeah. I guess there's a lot of things that are running through my mind, like with what you're describing, because I mean, if it's 350-mile range, that's a pretty significant swath of coverage that's been knocked completely out. But I know we've had issues like that in the past. I don't think we've ever had it for 60 days, but I know we've had areas where it was just complete blackout, like Northeast. I think what was it back in? I think they had several times. But I know, like back in 1977, New York City was plunged into darkness for like 2 weeks or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just New York City. It went up into Canada.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's because our power grids are tied together, U.S. and Canada. At least the eastern portion of Canada.
Yeah.
Not so sure about the area of Canada that resides over Vancouver, Washington State, and all that. I have no idea. I wouldn't be surprised one way or the other. But I think there's even portions of our grid that are actually tied into Mexico's grid too, as well. But yeah, you got the three main power grids. You got the Texas power grid, you got the Western power grid, and then you got the Eastern power grid. But I mean, 350 miles, it's a pretty significant swath of area where service has been completely lost. I guess in that case, it wouldn't, I mean, it would be bad. Do not get me wrong. It would be bad, and it would be causing all sorts of holy hell for not just the local economies, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of banking economy that's going to be tied into that. A lot of banking corporations could be brought down to their knees, because I'm sure some of them in whatever area that you're talking about in this theoretic power outage, they've got their main headquarters over there. And like I said, it's just going to mess a lot of services up. And yeah, you're pretty much spot on about the whole cell phone thing, the cell phone coverage, internet. I would say it's safe to say internet, if it's like coming, unless it's, well, shoot, even broadband, it might still be interrupted. But if you're getting the internet off of like me, like off a coaxial cable or something like that, it's likely going to be interrupted as well. If it's coming through a phone line, it probably will also eventually get interrupted. So I don't know. There's a lot to factor in.
Yeah. I mean, and that's just it. People think, oh, it's just going to be simple. Well, there's a lot of other
people.
It's like a spider web. There's a lot of other things tugging at that web around you. And everyone says, well, they'll only trucking fuel in for all the generators. Well, they'll only truck fuel in if they know who needs it. And getting that communication of who needs it to the suppliers to say, hey, we need this, is going to be one thing. And then as soon as the first truck gets hijacked, I mean, you're going to see all trucking stop coming in, unless it's under National Guard escort.
Hey, becoming dangerous.
Yeah. Hey, Wayne, if you're interested, I emailed you the link too. Uncle Al, you should have gotten the link in the email. Hey, Grammy Karen.
See, what I was going to say, there's going to be, as far as the fuel is concerned, there's going to be priority. Like different areas are going to get prioritized first. Obviously, it's going to be the hospitals are going to be the very first.
Right.
And if any of the fire stations got backup diesel generation, obviously their fire apparatuses and their emergency apparatuses are going to get fuel, not just diesel fuel, but I mean gas, because I'm sure they've got some gas-powered pickup trucks with firefighting equipment.
Yeah.
Same police stations. Police stations definitely be next. And all the cop cars they got to make sure the squad cars got fuel.
Yeah. But along that line, having worked with counties and cities in California, Contra Costa Sheriff's Department does not have any fuel tanks other than a 150-gallon tank at the sheriff's office. And that's for generators and stuff, small generators and stuff like that, not for fueling up patrol cars. They all have a card. They go down to the county corp yard and fuel up down there. But then so does every other vehicle for the county go down there to fuel up. And if there's no electricity to it, no fuel.
Yeah.
Also, the city of Martinez, city of Concord, city of Pleasant Hill, Walnut Creek, none of the PDs have gas stored on site to be able to fuel up a patrol car, other than the couple of the departments that actually have a garage where they got a mechanic working on patrol cars, and that's for him to use to work on the cars. If he needs to pour some gas, pump some gas in to see if it's a fuel pump, whatever, for him to work with. Otherwise than that, they have to go wherever they go to get gas on a credit card. And if the credit cards aren't working, ain't nobody getting gas.
Yeah. And actually, and here's what the other thing too. Like, I was about ready to continue on. The next priority would be like the local gas stations and fuel stations, but it's not going to be all of them. It's only going to be certain ones, and likely it'll probably be like the corporate, like major corporate gas stations. Not going to be like the mom and pops. It's going to be like a big one, and they might wheel in some backup generators so that way they can run those gas stations. They might not. That's kind of a roll of the dice. But as far as I see it, if they start doing that, this ends up being a totalitarian's wet dream, because at this point in time, then they're going to start consolidation and nationalization as far as the resources go in your area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Viewer says, that's the problem for sheep. Plastic money stopped. Exactly.
And even the paper money in that area might not be any good.
Yeah. Well, if if the news is broadcasting, we are working on the situation. This is not a permanent outage. Things will be returning to normal. It's, there's a lot of transformers got burnt out or whatever, and they're giving information to people, letting them know, yeah, it's going to be a while, but it's going to come back. Paper and coin and cash should still be good. Barter will begin to take place for certain things. And while stores are going to be limited and restricted by mandate not to gouge people, individuals selling stuff from their own stockpile, there's nothing regulating what they can sell their stuff for.
Yeah. I would take caution in trying to sell anything. If I had anything stocked up, and I'd be taking caution about advertising to people, hey, I've got stuff to give away.
Yeah. Yeah. If someone's bartering, it's going to be done by word of mouth through friends and friends of friends. But even then, I'd be worried about it.
Yeah. You better have if you're going to be doing that, you better have a close, tight network of friends that can double as your armed security, because I'm not gonna. I don't see it being very long that somebody doesn't get the bright idea. They're just gonna hold you up and clean you out.
Yeah, there's going to be people doing that. Did I say hi to Star Homestead India? I'm not sure if I did. I didn't. Hi, Tammy Rebel Canners is here. All right, yeah, and this is one of the things that most people don't think about is all the little things that pile on. If you can just sit there nice and peaceful in your house. Most people in the chat here and watching will probably make 60 days, no sweat, so long as everybody else behaves themselves. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is everyone else going to behave themselves?
See, 350 miles, even for me, like if power was out that far, I mean, that's for here. If power was out for 350 miles, that'd be basically from Lubbock clear out to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And that would actually, believe it or not, I'm also looking from the other, monetary aspect. That would actually interfere with my work, my job, because I wouldn't be able to drive trucks anymore. In fact, I wouldn't even be able to be called into work. That'd be pretty much it right there. Like everything would be suspended temporarily until further notice. So there's a possibility that some of these truck stops may get fuel, like emergency rations of fuel, and they may get emergency backup power to keep trucks rolling. But I don't know. Like I said, it's kind of I don't know. I'm throwing darts here right now.
Yeah, and it's all right. One of the things I was talking about to some of my friends of mine. All right, San Francisco, 350 miles takes it down past Santa Barbara, almost to oh shoot, I can't remember the name of the town now. It's Ventura, almost down to Ventura, down there by LA, and it takes it up almost to the Oregon border, takes it over to Reno, and which basically, when the power goes out in California, a big one for PG&E. That's PG&E's footprint.
Yeah.
Okay, so that can do that. For me here, if it's 350 miles for me, that takes it over to Twin Falls and another halfway over to Boise, up to about almost to Mountain Home Air Force Base. Going down south takes it down to down just about to Salt Lake, and going north is you're up into Montana, Yellowstone, that area is up there. So a lot of the area for me, the amount of people affected is a lot less than if it were San Francisco being the hub, or LA being the hub, or Phoenix being the hub. Phoenix here, well, that's just about all the state of Arizona. So yeah, there's it depends where it's at. Now, if it's in the summertime, that's good and bad. It's summertime or spring, late spring, early fall. It's not too cold. People can still do things, as opposed to dead of winter. Then that's going to be a whole another troublesome aspect. In the summertime, you don't need to keep warm, and really, air conditioning is a luxury, not a necessity. One of the other things is in the wintertime, hey, and you're in certain areas, if you don't have heat, you're screwed. Now that brings up something else, is those the people that are on solar that is hooked up to the grid, and it's out for that long, and a lot of the ones that are hooked up to the grid, if the grid goes down, your solar won't work, you don't get power from it because it has a safety thing in there.
Yeah.
First thing I'd be doing is rewiring.
Yep.
The other thing is, if you have a standalone solar system, you're going to be pretty good. And Tibor's going to be popping in on this one here in a second because he loves doing it on this one. You're going to have to be using blackout curtains. You're going to have to be going dark at night, using only your power during the daytime. Any power you use at night from your solar system is to keep your refrigerators, freezers, medical stuff like CPAPs, and that sort of stuff running. You're not going to be using it for lights.
Yeah. Lighting would be a luxury.
Lighting would also make you a target too.
Yeah. Well,
but then you can tell a house that has a generator lights around by generator, or whether it's candles and oil lamps. It's a different type of light.
Yeah. Yeah, because the electric light, it's more of a white light, whereas the other one's more of a natural, like a yellowish orange light.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also some flickering too with the candles and the oil lanterns, because natural breezes, natural wind, any sort of turbulence in the air, somebody walking by.
And there he is. Yes, don't make yourself a target. I can count on Tibor for keeping it real. CR put something in here. Snow shows activity, tracks, and such like that.
Yeah.
And Kaylin has a good point. If you have red lights, use red lights at night, because red lights don't show like regular white light does.
Yeah. They don't shine as far. The U.S. Navy was real keen on using both red and gray lights at night, like especially lighting up the bridge, command and control.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember reading several sources on World War II submarines. All right, we're going to be opening up the hatch, red lights on, and everything else got turned off. So, there's a lot of things to consider. Besides, are you set with food, water, and your supplies to go that long? Everything else is going to be affecting you. Yeah. I mean, several of us in here have wood stoves and have more than 60 days worth of firewood. So, but the thing is with that one of the big things that I'm seeing is in the planning for something like this is going to be those that don't plan. Hey, Suladeen, welcome. So if you're all planned out and you haven't been maintaining, come on, I just lost the phrase here. Silence. Operational security. There we go. I had to think of Steve. Of course, there are trainers in his little thing on operational security, keeping your mouth shut. To all your neighbors and stuff, they're going to be going after a couple days. Hey, wait a minute. Gil's got all this stuff over there. Let's go over to his house. And so, yeah, there's going to be things like that. Hey, you don't even have to go to Kansas. You can go right out here in Idaho. And we got some flatlands out here, nothing but farmlands. Yeah, and when the lights out, when power's all the city lights go out from a power outage, even usually it's only for about 5-10 minutes. Yeah, you can look over there and you see, oh, there's Shelley over there. Oh, there's Aberdeen, 20 miles over there. We had 8 days, no power, cloudy. Put out our garden solar. They charged enough to be used again the next night. Yeah. Yeah. Communications is something that most people don't think about in this. Do you have, the AM, FM radios, ham radio,
CBs.
Besides CBs, the FRS, GMRS radios, those really don't have the range of ham radios or CBs, but you can hear what's going on in the neighborhood and stuff for those that are using it. Hey, Laura. And but communications with ham radio, even if you don't have a transmitter, you just have a scanner, you'll be able to pick up information from farther away. The AM, FM radios, the problem is people have ones that are plugged in and they don't have battery operated ones. Battery operated ones and the hand crank ones with the capacitors in them aren't that expensive. So you can just crank it up and charge the capacitor, and it'll run for half an hour before you got to crank it up again. And you can pick up a lot of information.
Some of those radios that you're talking about, they've got solar panels on them as well. And
exactly, yeah.
Some of them also have regular, like AA, take regular AA batteries as an additional source for backup.
Yeah. And of course, one thing to think about, and I've talked about this numerous times, is you get a small solar panel charger that they'll charge your your rechargeable AA's, AAA's, 9-volt batteries, and you can you charge those up during the daytime, and usually those will charge up in 3 or 4 hours, so you can get 2 sets charged during the daytime. So you're good for the night. All right. Caitlin has ham and CB. Also have battery radios, hand crank radios. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the one thing with CBs that does suck though is like you got to make sure you got a really good antenna.
Yeah.
Because you won't get good propagation of signal. I found out the hard way with these. I got these little portable 2-watt 40-channel CBs and stock antennas. We barely get like 300 feet apart from one another, and it's like signals just goes down the tubes. You can't hear anything, and it's all garbled.
Yeah, and if you or before I go back to radio, so like Star said here, real zombies will be easier to deal with than angry humans, because angry humans think about being devious, doing devious, mean things to you. But when it comes to ham radios, if you're thinking about getting a ham radio or just getting a scanner just to listen, go check out your local ham radio club, find out about antennas, because they just about every ham radio club does 2 or 3 antenna classes a year. And because you can make simple antennas, J-pole antennas, rigid or wire ones that you string up inside of a tree and basically hidden, but you increases your reception immensely. And it just, there are things you can do to increase your footprint of gathering information from. Now, Uncle Al pointed out something, yes, I did, I haven't mentioned, and that was the animals. If you have livestock and stuff, do you have feed for 60 days? Can you maintain them? Is it wintertime where you have to have a heater out there in their water trough to keep it from freezing over?
Or if you got chickens, have a red light in their coop to keep them warm.
Yeah. There are a sort of different things to consider for your animals without power. And if you have like milking goats or milking cows, and you got to get out there with a lantern to try to milk them, depending how many you have, it's a pain. We had a milking cow when I lived in Arizona, and when the power was out, trying to light it up in there enough so the cow would come into the milk barn was something else indeed. Yeah. Let's see, I'm reading the side chat here. If you happen to have a greenhouse or thermal mass system, that's going to help a little bit too. Because if you have like a Wallapini greenhouse where it's partially submerged, and you're not having to heat it at all, and it's heating naturally, so it keeps it above freezing, it's going to be warmer than your house. So you may be going out there with the family, everybody in a sleeping bag, into the greenhouse. Of course, with everybody in the greenhouse, that's going to the heat in the greenhouse, so that's going to help everybody as well. Lions, tigers, and bears, wild animals. Well, for the most part, you're not going to have to worry about those. The wild animals for 60 days, especially if you're in the city already. The only thing you might have to worry about isn't lions, tigers, and bears. It's going to be raccoons, possums, and other type small vermin, skunks, and stuff like that. Oh, the lights are out. We can go wherever we want. So,
yeah, and there's going to be a lot more deer activity. That's assuming that Bambi doesn't go on the stew.
Yeah. Okay. Northern Maine. I don't use lights in my coops. No heated water for my livestock either. Off grid. I know Sean in Alaska. His chickens are acclimated. He does not have a heater out there for his chickens. So.
Hello, Star.
Yeah. Hey, Moon. So there are a lot of different aspects to this. It's not. Hey, Julie, how's it going? Yeah, hungry varmints, exactly. Boy, it's jumping. Hungry varmints. And CR is coming out. Security patrols. How fast can you get your neighbors to work together? Because if the first sign of news is that it's going to be a couple of weeks before we can get the power back on, you might want to be considering getting your immediate neighbors together to set up patrols, security for your neighborhood.
Yeah. My problem is right now, I've only spoken with a few of my neighbors. Most of them I still don't know. Like,
yeah.
They don't want to talk, so it's like, okay, that's fine. You guys stick to yourselves. But I just hope nothing bad happens, because if it does, then that means I'm going to have to call on complete total strangers to help pull security.
Yeah.
And odds are pretty good. There's going to be some people that are just going to be I hate to use the term, but just face it, They're gonna be useless eaters. They're not gonna do anything to help with everyone else. Help with pulling security. I don't know. I guess cutting firewood, because I guarantee you, there's a lot of people don't have fireplaces or wood burning stoves in their houses, but I guarantee you some people are going to start fabricating stuff like that come wintertime.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be anybody wanting to cut firewood. And firewood's going to be pretty much a 365-day a year job, because you're going to need to cook food.
Yeah.
That propane on your grill isn't going to last forever.
Got a couple points on what you said is, people don't have fireplaces and they're going to be trying to heat the house. That's going to lead to a whole other problem. Mm-hmm. Two problems that come to mind immediately. One,
carbon monoxide.
Carbon monoxide. Two, fire. Like you bring that hibachi and they're cooking on it and it gets knocked over and suddenly their house or apartment's on fire. Mm-hmm. But for Tony's question here, he's heard not to add seasoning to your foods when grilling because the smell, it spreads it. And that's the thing too, is when you're cooking in a situation like this, you don't want to cook on a grill at all. If you're cooking outside, you want to do it in a pot, or like we do in Scouts, we fix up whatever the meal is in foil, roll up in foil, seal it up, stick it in the coals, let it cook. Once it's done, you take it inside to open it up so that smell doesn't go over the whole neighborhood. Yeah, you want to limit smell because people go, all right, wind's blowing that direction. That's where the food is. Let's go see who has food. Let's catch back up here. All right, yeah, so Al has zoos and Tiger Center south of him. Well, so long as they don't let the animals out, Al, you should be fine. Ham repeaters operate until the batteries quit. A lot of the ham repeaters, the guys, because solar panels are so cheap now, they're putting solar chargers on the batteries for them, and they're going to the lithium iron phosphate batteries because they last so much longer than lead acid ones. I know that on Mount Diablo in California, Mount Diablo has the largest radio footprint anywhere in the United States of any peak with radio transmitters on it. And just about every single repeater up there has solar panels charging it. So that's one good thing. If you got a good radio club, they've taken care of keeping their stuff going indefinitely during a power outage. Let's see here. Ken says, I call in favors from friends before I trust anyone in the building. Yeah. So catch back up here. Yeah, and this food to smell will smell food. The food to smell, yeah. Look, the smell of food will bring raccoons, possums, rats, and others.
Yeah, and I was gonna say down here, roaches are very prevalent.
Hey, Don, how's it going? Has anybody heard from Mushi? No, I haven't. Okay, got a question here. Repeater, what's a repeater? Okay, quick radio lesson here, folks. Radios work two ways. Simplex, which is radio to radio, same frequency, where they can communicate to each other evenly. All right, so that's simplex. Duplex uses a repeater. So what the repeater does, it has two frequencies on it, a receiving frequency and a transmitting frequency. So when you're trying to use a repeater, your radio has to be set to duplex as well, with the frequencies matching. So you transmit on frequency 1, the repeater picks it up, retransmits it on frequency 2. And so it gives it a bigger area that it can reach to. So that's what a repeater is. And some repeaters are set up on what's called a network. In California, there in the Bay Area, the Gorilla Network is the big one. And they got like 30 different repeaters that aren't big, high power repeaters, but they're for getting all over the hills, the valleys, and everything else, and to cover an area. And they, they're all linked together so that it repeats and just right down the line and back and forth. Yeah, just like it reaches those corners. I would eat CR. Okay, we eat fridge free. The refrigerator. It looks like I'm trying to make it out here. So it looks like he's going to eat the refrigerator stuff first, and then the freezer stuff. Move it to the refrigerator, whatever, a little bit. But if you have a generator of sorts, and you have your whole stock of dried goods, canned goods, home canned stuff, and everything else, and your freezer stuff, your chest freezers generally don't have to run, but 20, 30 minutes every 4 to 6 hours. So if you have a generator, problem with generators, it's going to make noise. So if you have one of the super quiet inverter generators that are really quiet, you build a sound box for it beforehand.
Yeah.
And you run it for a little bit. You cool off. Everything needs to be cool. You also have your battery chargers are going to charge up any other batteries you have. You get everything done in 20, 30 minutes, and you turn the sucker off for 4 or 5 hours. And now at nighttime, when you're not opening up the refrigerator or the chest freezers, you can generally let them go all night long and then fire it up in the morning to cool off the freezers and stuff then. And that way you're not, your fuel will last a lot longer rather than running your generator 24/7.
This also depends on your area too, as far as like how long your stuff will stay cool. Because like down here, during the height of summer, with temperatures reaching about almost 117 degrees on like super hot days, your stuff's you're gonna have to keep cooling that off every, a little bit more periodically than say somebody lives up there near Idaho.
Yeah. All right. I'm trying to find it here for her. Okay. There are several ways a solar panel can work to recharge. One is it charges a big battery, like hang on here, like these ion lithium batteries. You charge it charges these up. You have these connected to an inverter, which produces your power to run your battery charger. The other thing is, let me pop over here and see if I can find where I put it at. I got it in one of my things, so I just got to find the right one here where I have it stashed at. I got so many lists here. Sometimes on this particular one, off grid. Is it in off grid? Nope, that's the simple stuff. Yeah, let's see, asset center. Basically, what I'm looking for is the specifically done charger that is, dang, where did I put it? I must have moved something around. Basically, there are solar powered units to charge, just double checking here, electrical. No, but basically it's a battery charger that runs off of the sun. It has its built-in solar panel, and it does that. There are other ones that have the solar panel has an output feed that is equivalent to a USB cord, so you can just plug in your battery chargers that are USB powered into that, and that works that way as well. Smacked Iowa, my stuff in my freezer for 3 days with power out. Did lose some stuff in the fridge, and that's it. If you are judicious in when you open these appliances up, they'll generally stay cold pretty good. And yeah, T-Bar, the inverter is the simplest way. You just get a battery, you charge up you have your solar panels charging the battery, you have an inverter on it, and you plug stuff into it. With that, you can also do that to, if you have a couple of those batteries, you can also run your refrigerator to keep it cool on it. I ran a chest freezer, a 7 cubic foot chest freezer, out in the sun at the farmer's market. It ran. I unplugged it at 5 o'clock in the morning, loaded it in the trailer, took it down there, offloaded it for the booth, and I had 3 15-watt panels charging up several batteries, and it was running the chest freezer, and the scouts were selling ice cream out of the chest freezer all day long. So that chest freezer is open, close, open, close, open, close in the middle of summer, and it still kept everything cold in there. The batteries were down to about 50% by the end of the day, but that was opening and closing a chest freezer for about 12 hours.
Yeah. I've got a little portable electric cooler, and I was talking to CR and Shadow Scout Suite about it, but it's got two types of plugs. It's got one 12-volt plug that you can plug into the cigarette outlet of a car, but it also comes with a little transformer and a regular 120-volt power cord. So little transformer will step down the power, step down the current. Actually, I think it's like a transformer inverter combination.
Yeah.
And I can literally set this thing to freeze. Like I can set the temperature down to -4 Fahrenheit. And I've like loaded this thing completely, basically. I'm not sure how many cubic foot this thing is. It might be maybe 2.5 cubic foot little cooler, but I loaded this thing completely full of like 500 milliliter bottles of water. I think altogether, I put like 50 or 60 bottles of water in there. With it running with wall power, it took a solid 2 days for all those waters to freeze solid. Me setting it at -4, but it's capable of doing it. So I've got that, and I got my little gasoline generator. And like I said, that's actually not really a noisy generator. It actually came from the factory with like an insulating box to muffle out the noise.
Yeah. All right. I was bringing some stuff up here because now that everyone's talking in this chat here about it, so I'm going to bring up some stuff on it. All right. So let me bring this one up first here. Before I bring this up, I'm going to give a thing. The advancements in portable power stations, aka solar generators, they're not generators, they are battery power stations that happen to be able to be charged by solar as well as plugged into the wall. There are a whole bunch of them. This is my friend's website, Ben Gilmore. I've had him up on my live streams both here on GrayManPrepping and Camp Patton Family Compound. He goes through and he reviews all sorts of them. I mean, he has a bunch of them, and so he, all these ones you see on the wall back there behind him, he's bought with his own money, and he reviews them, puts them out there, and he has a lot of things. You guys have small things, you're not going to see it, but he reviews all the different ones. And the newer ones are getting even better and better for the reliability, their improvements on batteries, and their ability to charge up and stuff. And the newest ones have taken it big to have high solar input or a nice big wall power box where you plug it in to charge up the system in a couple hours. So if you have a generator, you fire up the generator, you plug it in that, and you charge up this battery bank that'll run for 2 or 3 days in a couple hours. And that way it'll keep your refrigerator and your chest freezer good for a couple days. So, but this is Minuteman Prep. At Minuteman Prep here on YouTube. And you can check him out. That's all he does is review all these solar generators and stuff. He's taken his house totally off grid here in Idaho, and he has a cabin up in the foothills of the Grand Tetons that is totally off grid as well. And the cabin's been off grid for 2 years now, I believe. And it runs up there when nobody's up there. It keeps. He has a low voltage, a 12-volt system for heat and cooling, so it keeps the cabin at a certain temperature pitch, so he doesn't have to drain all the water lines and everything else, and it keeps everything so it's good, and it keeps all the food cool enough in the summertime, so all the food stays good, and keeps everything freezing in the wintertime. And it's been running for 2 years now. Let me see. Get back up here. I've missed a lot of. All right, suggestion on solar panels. It depends on what you need for the output of the solar panel. There are some good ones on Amazon, and that's where I've been buying mine, comparatively speaking, for everywhere else. And the ones I've been getting on Amazon, hang on here, let me go bring it up here. Where is it? Okay, here we go. Rich Solar is the name of it. And Reed Inn, formerly known as Manifestations of Imagination. His house is all solar as well down there in New Mexico. And he prefers these over the, I get the other ones up here, over the Reno-G. Of course, these all become unavailable. But this, it's 100 for a 100-watt, 12-volt cell. It's $110. And like Ben likes to say, over panel, because most of the solar generators now have limiters on it. So if it says it'll take 2,000 watts of input into it, and you're trying to push, and say you got 3,000 watts of panels out there. So in the morning when it's getting limited light, it's giving it all the panels can give it. It's taking it all. But as you get to high noon during the peak time, your panels are trying to push 3,000 watts at it. It's going to limit and only take 2,000 watts. Not a big deal, but it means it gives you more in the morning and more in the evening to give you a full charge. And if it's cloudy and really everything, so you're not getting peak time, it gives you more stuff to do it. So over paneling is one of the better things to do.
Not to mention you might have natural shadows of trees or
other things that happen during the daytime too. Yeah. All right, so things to think about too. Multi-fuel generators. Propane does not go bad.
Nope.
And so if you can get some propane tanks, sometimes people give them away when they're moving and they're selling. They're having the yard sale stuff, and they'll put stuff out there for free, and they'll set the propane tanks out there for free too. I've snagged up 3 propane tanks that people put out on the curb for free. Took them down to Home Depot, exchanged them, did the propane tank exchange, got full tanks, and it's great that way. Also, last summer I did a video actually I think it was on this channel I did it on, where I picked up a Torch King 100 the 100-pound propane tank for it was on a ridiculous sale at Home Depot. I should have gotten two, but I got one. And a 100-pound propane tank, that's 5 of your barbecue ones. Never goes bad. And I got a tri-fuel generator. It'll run on propane, gasoline, or natural gas. And, I got natural gas in the house now. So I can run it off the house. Now, go ahead.
I was going to say, the only limiting factor with the propane, yes, it doesn't go bad. The only limiting factor is basically the tanks and the valves. Because over time, the seals on the valves will go bad. But I think most of the time when you do like the propane tank exchange, I think they replace those valves anyway.
They test them and stuff and inspect them. I have a couple tanks that were my in-laws' tanks off of their travel trailer. And they had that travel trailer when my wife was less than 10 years old. And I'm not saying how old she is, but you guys know I turned 66 last month, a couple of weeks ago. So one of them finally began to leak. He turned it off. It was still just a little. He sprayed some soap on the plug, and it'd be leaking around it. And so I just screwed in an adapter that went from the big tanks down to the green bottle type thread on it, so I can just use a hose for my Mr. Buddy. But and you can buy on Amazon replacement valves. So when the tank's empty, you can replace the valve yourself. You just got to use the proper Teflon on the threads or the pipe, the right pipe dope on there to seal it right. Oh, somebody scored, and somebody else picked up 2 or 3. I think they said they were, it may have been Tammy at Rebel Canners. 40-pound tanks for ridiculously cheap. And it was like, oh man, I would, they were like, ridiculous. I mean, I think $10 each or $10 for both of them.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. Now, going back to inverters and the portable power stations, the Jackeries and stuff. The rating on those are not the true rating. If it says 1,000-watt inverter, you don't want to use more than 500 watts because that 1,000 watts is a spike and then it drops down below that. If you run a 1,000-watt inverter at 1,000 watts, you're going to burn it up after a while because it's not meant to be run at 1,000 watts. Most people don't realize that. That's all right. That's right. There it was. Yeah. Laura. Yeah. $10 each, and there were 40-pound tanks, I believe, correct? I mean, it was just incredible. It's like, oh, man. I was so jealous when I read that. And so on your inverters, you want to calculate at 50% max load of the inverter. That makes the inverter last longer. Well, it's no moving parts, but it still heats up.
Yep.
As it produces electricity, as it converts electricity. Your transformers do burn out. Your everything parts, they do burn out. So if you use it at less than half, it's going to last a lot longer.
Whenever you're inducing electrical load on something that's conductive, the act of the free electrons at an atomic level, that's what electricity is, the free electrons flowing. The act of those electrons flowing across the surface is actually what's generating the heat.
Yeah. And so, so basically if you have a 600 watt Jackery or whatever, don't put more than 300 watts on it. Also, if you max out those power stations where you're pulling the full amount out of it, you're actually, when you're pulling that much from the battery, it actually shortens the life of the battery as if you're just trickling out of the battery. It's just the chemistry of the batteries and the way they work. Can you keep the kids busy for 60 days without driving you crazy? That's where bicycles with little generators on there comes in handy. You put the kids on the bicycle, put a TV in front of them, and a DVD. So you guys got to play. I mean, you got to pedal to play your movie.
They even still make portable DVD players anymore?
Yes, they make portable DVD and Blu-ray players that run on 12 volt for the cars, to plug into the cars.
Okay. At least they still got that.
They still got that. And those are also good for going camping too.
Yeah.
If you have a couple 100-watt panels and a iron lithium phosphate battery and a small inverter on it, boom. And actually, you don't even need an inverter because if you're using a 12-volt hookup to it. And so, yeah, you can keep some kids busy at campgrounds. So I'm bored. I'm going to go run around to other people's camps. So you're not watch a movie. But yeah, so 60 days. I mean, we've gone to a lot about electricity, other ways to keep you going. But the main thing is you have to maintain your operational security, your situational awareness of what's going on around you. And one thing I haven't touched on, and I'm going to refer you over to Corsair Trainers, back to his playlist on the legality of use of force. Mm-hmm. He has several videos on that. And so he did perfect videos. I can't say any better than he did. Go watch his videos, make a comment. You came over from here. But about the legality of use of force and stuff. Because by end of day 30, things may be getting pretty wild west around there.
Yeah.
So there may be times where you have to defend yourself. And whatever you do, make sure, besides what Steve puts on his, if you have a functioning cell phone with the camera going and they're trying to get into your house, record them breaking into your house with weapons before you use yours.
Yeah.
Oh, Tony, I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I'm working on setting up a couple exercise bikes I have to trying to get some 15 amp alternators to put on there. So they'll do that, single wire, so they immediately start charging.
Tell them if they want to play their video games.
Yeah. You guys want to play on the laptop? Well, you got to pedal here and charge up the laptop before you can play on it.
I would make them do it as they're playing. You got to charge it up before you play on it, and then you got to charge it up as you're playing on it because you're using up the energy as you're using it. Yeah.
So let's see what other things to worry about. Items that, going back to touch on it again, points to consider during a power outage, and you need to plan for this now rather than when it happens. You should have several plans for power outages. Peak summer, peak winter, and then spring, fall. 3 different plans for temperatures and stuff. Things to do, how to keep going. Hey, Glenn, how to garden? Welcome. And, if you need to have multiple plans, because winter reaction is not going to be the same as fall or spring or summer. You're going to have different things going on, and you have to respond differently and plan accordingly for power outages. If you can afford it, one of the newer solar power stations that that work. You want to get one that will handle 4 times your draw. So if you're drawing, so many watts for your refrigerator, so many watts for your freezer, so many watts for your CPAP, add up everything you can do. You want one that is rated 4 times that. You're not going to use that much. I mean, even with what you have, you stagger it, you can be using like an 1/8 or a 1/10 of that, watt average hour output. But the new ones are great because you can charge them. You keep them plugged in like the old office uninterrupted power sources for the computers and stuff. That's what you have. You have it kept it. You keep it charged, whatever it's doing, whatever the manufacturer recommends. If it says plug it in once a month for several hours, or keep it plugged in all the time, and it'll monitor itself. You keep that charged up, and then you don't have to have solar panels on your roof. If you have a sunny spot in your backyard and you can put the panels out there, set them up, and just run the cable in to charge it that way during a power outage, no one knows you have solar. No one knows you're able to keep your refrigerator running, your chest freezer running, and any medical devices you need to keep running as well. So that's something to consider. You gotta budget for it. Yes, bows and arrows are good silent weapons. Atlatl, if you are into that sort of thing. All right, have to check the power usage if we can't. Okay, hang on to it. Where is it? Right over here. Let me go get something here. I've shown this a number of times. This is called the Kilowatt. This is the same model that Ben Gilmore has for doing his testing. You can get it on Amazon. This is the P3, and it does all sorts of things. It tells you what the voltage is, what the amperage is, wattage is, and then it has the kilowatt hour on it. So you can plug it in, and you can zero it out, plug in the refrigerator on it, let it run for an hour or let it run for 6 hours, pull it off, read what it says on it, and then do your math on it to figure out how much you use during that 6 hour period. Divided by 6 gives you your average watt hour usage, and you can figure out exactly what you use, because refrigerators don't run all the time. You have one, you just can't move your fridge to plug it in. Well, actually, what I was lucky on the fridge here. It's far enough away from the wall to allow for the coils and stuff to function properly. I can unplug it, plug an extension cord in, and plug this into the extension cord, and then plug it into that. So there are some workarounds if you can do that. Yes, muscle memory comes into play not only for firearms, but for bows, atlatls, staffs, swords, whatever it is you're planning on using. Now, the one neat thing that's out there that I've noticed is that they're now making rechargeable lithium batteries in AA and AAA and C and D and the square 6 volt for the flashlights.
Yeah, the lantern batteries.
Yeah. So, and they all take the I can't bring this up here. It's not gonna. Okay, here we go. Here's one. I'm not sure if you can tell exactly, but this is the Type C, which means you can plug it in upside down. Either way, doesn't matter. The Type C USB, and most of them take that.
Yep.
And you can just plug it into your computer to charge it up. You don't have to use the charger that comes with it. So there's and then some of those solar panels have Type B and Type C ports on them, so you can charge, use different USBs to charge stuff up on. All righty. Anybody have any questions? Side chat. Any questions about stuff? Oh, and there's don't forget your smoke and carbon monoxide detectors.
Yep.
And I'm thinking I have to go back and look. I'm not sure if I've seen 9-volt lithium batteries. I'm not positive. I think I have, but I'm not positive.
I will say that much about those 6-volt lantern batteries, the big square batteries. They make adapters that can replace those, so you can pop in like 4 D-cell batteries. You won't get as much amp hours out of 4 D-cells, because those lantern batteries, obviously, those are using bigger cells. Those are like F-cell batteries.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. What else? Waiting to see any questions. No, because they need to make all those electric cars we're supposed to be driving. Don't even get me started on that, because that's a whole nother hour-and-a-half rant just on the BS of the green of electric vehicles. Well, sorry. Electric battery vehicles. There's a difference between just plain there are different types of electric vehicles. Most of the ones you're buying nowadays are electric battery, but they do have electric fuel cell ones, which run on hydrogen, which is totally clean. All right, get that up there so I can see what's coming up here. Okay. Any other questions going on low? Remember, you have no weather forecast or heads up on that either. Yeah.
And what I was saying earlier, I will take one thing back. Remember, I was talking about the fuel for emergency generation. I was talking about the priorities. Like I said, I'm pretty certain it'll still be hospitals will be the first. We'll still get the fuel first.
Right.
Following the fire departments, following police departments. And then instead of the fuel stations, I think what they're going to probably do, see if they can power up backup generators for any of the water treatment plants and anything to deal with pumping water into the water
treatment and sewer treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that if they're smart, if they follow the Homeland Security directives, which I don't know who could have written that back when he worked for Homeland Security, when they go for hospitals and stuff, they will park one of those the little you usually see a fuel truck going. They have the truck with a tank on it and the little trailer behind it. They should be dropping off those little trailers at the hospital, and of course having a security guard out there with it too.
I would say a couple security guards.
Yeah, 24/7.
And they better be frosty, because they decide they're going to go on a smoke break and decide they're going to just shoot the breeze instead of guard the generator. Hospital's going to be missing fuel, and they're going to possibly be missing a generator.
Yeah, and the fuel tank, they just steal the whole tank and everything.
Yeah.
All right, Chirp's not getting any deep cycle 12 volt. Okay. The way the prices are coming down on batteries, I have a system out here that I went from deep cycle 12 volt to golf cart 6-volt golf cart batteries, because they work better. Well, then all of a sudden, before those are still good, but the science and the availability and production for lithium iron phosphate 12-volt batteries have come down, so it's no longer cheap to get 12-volt lead acid batteries. It's cheaper to get iron lithium phosphate batteries, which have 10 times plus the life cycle on it.
We talked about this in depth in one of your live streams. You were saying something like it had an outlandish amount of recharges, and And I went ahead and calculated it on a 365-day calendar year, and it's like 18 years.
Oh yeah,
ideal circumstances, 18-year lifespan.
Yeah, and Ben talks about that with his stuff. The way he uses his, because he has so many batteries on it, it just takes just a little bit. So every battery you add to your system makes all the batteries last longer.
Yeah,
because they're going through less cycles. And hang on, let me pull it up here. Solar. There we go, my solar wish list. Oh man, they swapped them around again, so I got to go find new ones with power with prices on it.
I like your no Cheeto eating on the banner.
That's a poke. That's a poke at Steve. All right. Actually, I need to change that up here to that one. Okay. All right. Back up to comments there. Okay. So Time USB is one of the manufacturers. This here, let me put it up here. This is a 410 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery, 4,000 life cycles. That means you can take it totally dead and recharge it 4,000 times. Not just down a little 4,000 times, but 100% drained, recharge it. 100% drained, recharge it.
Yeah.
And you're not going to do that. You're for this one here, 4,000, you're looking at like 20 years.
At least.
Yeah. Your kids are going to be using it. And
20 years, and that's if you're draining it till it's flatline dead and then recharging it again. Probably longer.
And so this is the 250 amp hour BMS system and battery management system. And so it's $1,300, but it's that's $200 cheaper when I added it to the list back in April. And it's got free shipping on it. But some of these others are a little bit cheaper and stuff, but the price per amp hour is about the same. Actually, it's a little bit less. The bigger you go with the battery, it's a little bit less because you got less packaging around it, because they're able to expand the packaging. But something like that. If you're going to be replacing batteries, look into the either Time USB or where's the other one here? The Power Queen, Ben Gilmore over there on Minuteman Prep has reviewed all these batteries. So he has some good reviews out of there. Now, going back to what was mentioned aside here, and Tibor's talking about it again, if you're running a long extension cord, the longer the cord, you want to get thicker cable. So you can get 14 gauge. Actually, I think you even get 16 gauge, which is smaller than 14 gauge, 100-foot extension cords. But you don't want to draw 15 amps on that. You want to draw maybe 10 amps. And if you're running long and you're going to be running to the house to be running appliances and stuff on because they have surge on it, you're going to want a 12 or a 10 amp. 12 or 10 gauge extension cord to handle the loads and stuff.
I'm not sure what the gauge is on the extension cords I've got out in the garage. I bought some super heavy duty extension cords. They're like rated for 13 amps. They're the highest rated amp cords I could find over at Walmart. And it's for my electric push mower because I've got a corded push mower. Yeah. But like I said, I want to make sure I got one that was appropriate size because of the heat that would be generating, as it's drawing the amperage from the wall.
Yes, Tibor, gauge. The size of the wire is rated in gauge. The smaller the number, the bigger the gauge. It's backwards.
Yeah. Well, it's no different than a shotgun,
Yeah, exactly. Just like gauges. Now, when I worked for construction companies, in between some of my law enforcement career stints, we used 480-volt submersible pumps. The extension cords we used on that were 6-gauge and 4-gauge extension cords.
Jeez.
Yeah. And so you basically got 4 wires in there.
Yeah.
That are 4-gauge, and so that wire literally is bigger than a quarter.
Mm.
The wire around it, and the plugs on it aren't your standard plugs.
Yeah.
They're big aluminum ones with 4 big pins. Goes together, has a rubber gasket in there, and it has a screw to screw it down. Those can lay in water, and you don't have to worry about them shorting out.
Yeah. Those will, like I said, those are probably going to look similar, not the same, but they're going to look similar to a dryer plug.
Yeah. And so, you know, if you can pick some of these things up at an auction or something, you may need to test to make sure there's no pokes, you know, cuts
Breaks
in the wire and stuff.
Yeah.
But those things. Yeah, my house in California. I ordered some extra, and I paid the company for it. I said, hey, I'm going to order extra. I want 100 feet for myself, and ordered it as a separate piece, and did the invoicing with it and stuff. Kept the boss all happy and excited that I was being so honest about it, not just stealing like some of the other guys have done. And I used that to run to my sub panel in my shop in California, and off my sub panel I ran my welder, the drill press, the bandsaw, the wood scroll saw, power scroll saw, and the sander and grinder. So, and that was 6-gauge. I ran that on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, back when I was in the Navy, we had those 480-volt submersible pumps that you were talking about on the submarines. We had portable ones, and then we had some that were stationary that were fixed in certain points of the ship.
Yeah. So, so hopefully everybody got something out of this and some food for thought about, can you survive 60 days without power? Not just yourself. Can you survive your neighbors and the community without power for 60 days? Because that's mainly probably where most of you are going to have your problem, is with neighbors and communities and those just outside your little neighborhood, you know, coming in looking for stuff. All right. So I'm going to wrap it up here, but I got a favor to ask for you guys. If you have any topics you think would be good for me to cover, please go ahead and email me at can'tpatentfamilycompound@gmail.com. 2 P's, 2 T's. So Can't Patent Family Compound. And that's the one I try to do all my YouTube stuff on. Keep it separate from my other email, which is linked off of GrayMan. But also coming up here, let me get rid of that here real quick and bring this up here. All right, the GrayMan Prepping here. We are 14 subscribers away from 1,400 subscribers. 14 away. And when we hit the 1,400, I'm going to do a giveaway. So please share it out. Make recommendations on your social media and stuff. I'll be doing several giving away Amazon gift cards. The majority of the gift cards are going to be the channel members, as it says down here below in the message going across there about some of the perks of being a channel member. So they'll be getting the larger gift card draws on that.
Real quick, can I answer somebody's question?
Sure.
Was it Larson? Doesn't that thicker wire suck up more electricity? It handles a larger load.
Yeah. And what's interesting is if you use a 12 gauge extension cord, say a 50 footer, as opposed to a 16 gauge, it's going to use less electricity because there's less resistance in that 12 gauge.
Yeah.
Because it's bigger, it can handle more. There's less resistance. It's like running water through a 1/2-inch pipe or running water through a
that's a
2-inch pipe.
analogy.
There's going to be less resistance. You're going to maintain higher pressure at the end, even though you're dropping it down to a garden hose. You're going to be less resistance. You can have more power at it.
Your pressure is your voltage.
Yes.
The load is the amps, the number of amps you're drawing.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, you can lose electricity through resistance along the way. That's why cords get hot.
Yeah.
All right. So GrayManPrepping is 14 away from that. We'll have a giveaway as soon as we hit the 1,400 subscribers. Camp Patton Family Compound is 11 away from 4,300. And when I hit it, I'll be doing a giveaway over on Camp Patton Family Compound away as well. So coming up here, topics. Monday night on Camp Patton Family Compound for the Monday night fireside chat, it's going to be talking about animal feed, making your own animal feed for chickens, rabbits, goats, whatever you have. Tuesday, back here on GrayManPrepping for Tactical Tuesday, we're going to talk about waterborne bacteria in emergencies. Because, hey, they're having water problems in other parts of the country, namely Louisiana and other Gulf states right now. Thursday will be the midnight ride. I want to apologize. I didn't do the midnight ride this last Thursday because my wife and son were packing up and we wanted to go to bed, and they don't want me in here making a bunch of noise, keeping them awake, because they had to drive back Friday to get back to California. Next Friday on Camp Patton Family Compound is Winter's Coming. Are you ready for it? And then next Saturday here is Prepping Winter Supplies. We're going to talk about what supplies you need to get for the coming winter. And I got my schedule over here. Let me show you. I got a spreadsheet there, and you can see it's filled up for quite a ways out there. I'm out. I've got everything planned up, but I can shift things around. If you come up with a good idea, I'll shift things around. But I've got stuff scheduled through Christmas Day.
Wow.
So I got topics scheduled through Christmas Day. But like I said, if you come up with a real good topic, I have no problem shifting a weaker topic to the back of the line. Thank you, Outlaw Farms. I appreciate it. All right. I'm just double checking that. All right. Everything looks good on the side chat there. All right. Okay. With that, I want to thank Doris for coming up here. And
thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. And of course, everybody in the side chat, thank you for your comments, for coming in, for your support, and your ideas and your questions. You're not alone. There are a lot of people, not just old women and old men, that are trying to learn.
Yeah.
And so, and don't get overwhelmed by it. I've been doing teaching emergency preparedness and response since 1971. And yeah, I'm an old man. And things change as the preparedness community learns, oh, this idea does not work. We need to find something different.
Or as technology changes.
Technology changes. Things come out like, whoa, we don't need these incandescent headlights. We can get ones like, we can get these LED ones that we can just hang on our shirts, and that way they light up in front of us and we don't blind somebody when we look at them. That's the biggest thing I hated about headlights. People look, oh, dang, no, turn that off when you're looking at me. But yeah, there's a lot of things there. All right, everyone, thanks for coming in, and I'll see you over on Camp Patton Family Compound on Monday. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
And